happiness. Kai, based on what you see going on in America today, based on data and research, Gallup says, 50 to 70% of Americans, they hate or dislike their job. 51% of Americans, they look back and regret their decisions about college. Not necessarily that they went, but what school I went to, what degree I got, what field of study, right? So, what the institutions of education in America create, and our institutions in general, we produce unhappy, regretful adults who hate and dislike their job and regret their decisions about post-secondary education and training.
It sounds like a lot of us don't like our jobs. And if we can turn back the clock, then we might choose something different to have a happier career. In this episode, let's talk about the backstory, about what may be helping some students to make a better choice, and what is our next step to help our next generation. Welcome to the Joint STEM Initiative podcast, produced by Queen City Robotics Alliance. Hello, I am your host, Kai Chen. In this episode, we are going to talk about the self-discovery for career path. Like we heard in the teaser, there are so many of us feel bad about our education choice that led to career regrets. It is not totally hopeless, and I can tell you in the same study, it also shows STEM professionals tend to be happier about their choice. What's the statistics behind the number of 51%? This study is from a study conducted between the Strada Education Network and the Gallups in 2017 based on telephone survey conducted between June 2016 and March 2017 with a random samples of almost 90,000 adults aging 18 and older. Survey shows 12% of adults would change degree, 28% of them would change institution, 36% of them would change the field of study or change their major. Overall, 51% of them would change at least one of the three choices. That makes me believe that career choice must be the most confused and the most frequent asked question.
Yeah. So, let me answer that. And that's just not high school. This is college.
Oh.
And so the other day I was watching a TED Talk and designed by the guys who are head of the School of Engineering and Design at Stanford now, right? And they both wrote a book called Designing Your Life based upon their experience. And one of them, was responsible for integrating the mouse technology at Apple on the front end. So he made way too much money. But with his stock and everything he got. So he really moved over then into teaching, right? And went to Stanford Engineering and Design. And so they went to a career fair for seniors at Stanford. And they started to videotape. They just asked the seniors, so you're going to graduate in May, so now what? And just the blank look on their faces as, that confused and I don't know and I have no idea. And so, that this is what our institutions and culture creates. Because earlier, we're not asking our kids to go through an exercise and a process, to start thinking about what is your education actually for? And then when you get that degree you get, what kind of job are you actually qualified to do? And when you look at those jobs, then, according to pay scale or other sources, what do those jobs actually make as entry level and maybe as you go on? But you know what? You're leaving Stanford maybe with $200,000 in debt. And you need to start doing this cost benefit analysis. Now, we're going to start asking those kids the same questions, Kaiwen, because we believe in career and college ready. So, you know, as you're thinking of your education, both now at Olympic, as you're in a career academy, you know, but it's not like going to college that you have to pay for these classes, and you can pivot and turn into another career academy if you want, after you start doing some exploration. But, you know, we need you to start thinking about this, because when you leave us as a senior at 17 or 18, you need to make a critical decision in your life that could live with you forever.
Let's meet Michael. He is our local story at Olympic High School. Their approach is project-based learning that is covered in the book called What School Could Be by Ted Dintersmith. Let's hear what he shared with me.
Sure. So my name's Mike Realon. I'm at Olympic High School in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're part of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg school system that has about 150,000 students. So I'm at a high school with about 2,600 students. Over half of them are free and reduced lunch students. About 45% are African American, about 20% white, about 25% Hispanic, and the remainder is Asian and other. Or again, like I said, over half of them are free and reduced lunch students. Olympic believes in career and college readiness, and that's kind of different. We have 5 National Academy Foundation career academies at our school. And we believe that our kids in the 21st century should be both career and college ready, not just one or the other. And with that, 85% of our students will graduate with at least one NAF Career Academy diploma. About 100 of them will leave us with more than one, because they're doing exploration and awareness, and they're young and they're trying to figure things out. And we encourage them to pivot and turn. We do want them to finish with at least one and start thinking about how to connect their education, both in high school, to how that connects to post-secondary, and how that may connect one day to an actual job that I think you might be interested in doing one day as you pursue prosperity and happiness.
Great.
So you want, on a normal day, you know, my official title is Career Development Coordinator, and Olympic High School since 2006 is part of the Bill and Melinda Gates Small School movement. So we received $1.2 million from the Gates Foundation. And when we received those dollars, that was, again, the Gates Foundation. Bill Gates has been very publicly critical of high school in America. And he gave testimony before the Senate. And he told the Senate, high school in America is outdated, it's obsolete, and it ruins the lives of millions of kids each and every year. And we should redesign and think through what the design of high school in America should be. We used to be the envy of the world. Now, according to OECD, we're about 30th in that space. And so how do we redesign high school in America? So we're trying to help our youth become successful in school, in work, and in life, but a much more holistic approach, and not just about test scores and did they go to college. You know, that it's much more complicated than that. And, you know, as Gates says, it doesn't meet the needs of the society or the economy any longer. So, you know, those are key questions. I think when you sit down in the room then with educators and community stakeholders and the business community, about how do we redesign, how do we think different about what high school and what should school be, as we're trying to help more of our youth reach their human and economic potential. And in order for them to do that, all you businesses know this, but one day they need to work for you with the skill set and the knowledge bases that you need. So we can look at some data, and we can see clearly it's not working out. And so the bigger question gets to be then that we've been doing at Olympics since 2005 and 6 is how do we redesign? How do we think differently? How do we design think, right? To rethink how high school should be restructured so that more kids can meet their needs and hopefully realize upward economic and social mobility. And how can you, our local economy, all you industry sectors who are involved, how can we best populate the talent pool? How can we align our interests together?
Through our discussion, I asked more on the specific on what he believes that we can do to help students best. After all good ideas without execution are just ideas. This must be something we STEM professionals can do, right?
We say, at the top of the list, we need to help our kids learn how to use their minds well, right? Critical thinking and problem solving, creativity and innovation, right? And so when we look at, and remember I mentioned, I think, the 4 C's, right? Critical thinking, problem solving, all of those. Well, what's the best way to do that? Project-based learning, right? That there's a project over a prolonged period of time that they are having to make something. And then it just gets into be the overall design of the project so kids can go deep. Well, trust me, is there any better project-based learning experience than FIRST Robotics? Yeah. So we say critical thinking and problem solving, creativity and innovation. So when you're part of a FIRST Robotics team, you get some rules every year about how the game's going to be played. And then your kids, they got to pore over the rules, right? And then they have to come up with a design and create and innovate and think about what kind of robot can we manufacture and design and fabricate so that we can score the most amount of points when we have to go to the competitions, right? And then as they may have their first iteration of the robot and they have to keep on going because they're going to come in touch with continuous improvement as well, right? With what they're doing to make it better. Now, and they're not doing that independently in a vacuum, right? They've got a whole team. We've got 40 people. Right? They have to learn how to collaborate. They need to learn how to communicate, right? So we will have 200 engineering graduates at Olympic this year. Probably a certain part of their brain works better than the other one, but they're going to start to learn if I cannot communicate my ideas well, most of my ideas are going to end up in the trash can. Right? It becomes the survival of the fittest of ideas and my ability to communicate and persuade, right? There's at Apple, there's a Steve Wozniak and there's a Steve Jobs, right? But Steve Jobs, that guy could sell ice to the Eskimos, as we say, right? And building up the whole marketing message and knew enough about the tech. But really, who built all the value? I mean, and so of learning of our kids so when my teachers are making me in all my classes stand up and deliver and communicate orally, publicly, right? When they make me, not just in my robotics team, when they make me work within teams and make us do work in teams and collaborate together, there's a big reason here. Because that's what Siemens and Bosch and Duke Energy and all the most prestigious companies have said, that's where the skill gap is. And so they start to, in robotics, it's all of the best key components of those key skill sets that have been identified by employers as the top of the pyramid, right? Those 4 C's, and they get to go through a year of that. And it's, it's run like, from our end, it's run like a company in a business. There's a business plan. There's a bunch of different departments. There's a marketing department. There's a strategic planning department. There's a logistics department. There's fabrication. There's design. There's engineering. There's IT. But they all have different departments, but they're all reliant on all the separate departments to perform at a high level so that our team meets its organizational goals. So it's set up to reflect a company type of environment.
Sounds wonderful, isn't it? In fact, it is. Here is one example from India Gregory. She graduated from Olympic High School years ago, and this is what she has to say during a recent panel interview.
To speak frankly, I think I struggled with what a lot of students have issues with during different periods of time throughout school, which is just maintaining engagement in courses. Particularly, one of the things I kind of shout out in the TED Talk was like how I struggled early on through elementary and middle school with like my foundation in math. Through experiences with different clubs and things like that in middle school and high school, I got to actually apply, what I was learning in classrooms to projects and things outside of that. So an example I always talk about is in first robotics, how it really kind of made what I was learning in math and science classes more real, because I was seeing the application side of it. And so, things like with math, and especially higher math, it's hard, right? So what it takes is a motivation and like kind of stick-to-itness to continue to stay with those concepts. And by being able to relate it to other things outside, you kind of are able to maintain the motivation when things do get tougher, because you can kind of relate it back to other things.
Here is the takeaway. There are so many adults are not happy with their education choice. Let's do something to make sure the younger generation are career ready or college ready. We'd like to go even deeper in a future episode on Olympic high schools, career, and technical education programs. We also learn about the highly effective FIRST Robotic program that students learn from their mentors and discover their own potential. We will dive deeper in the future episode on that one too. So where we'll go from here? Maybe you can join our initiative and be a part of the committee to steer this initiative. And of course, we would love to interview you to know more about how to get a career like yours. You can also help us to discover stories that are worth of telling and promote the STEM education and promote the career readiness. So maybe you're a hands-on person, then we would love to have you volunteer in one of the QCRS program or join one of our FIRST Robotic team to help the student run their team like a business. You can help them to practice marketing, practice fundraising. You can coach them and help them to do a project management, business planning, design, manufacturing, teamwork. It is way beyond robot. We would love to have you continue mentor and discuss with the students or do a research with us. Your support in any way is essential for us to continue to do what we do and improve this community. That could include your financial support. Okay, that is all the time we have for this episode. Please like us, comment or review this podcast at wherever you got this podcast from. So see you next time. Bye. The production of this podcast is by Queen City Robotics Alliance with support from Charlotte area STEM societies, businesses, schools, and nonprofits. Queen City Robotics Alliance, also known as QCIA, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. QCRS's mission is developing the future workforce by providing practical and hands-on STEM experience for local youth. QCIA is a home of several high school and middle school robotics teams, where students learn how to run their teams like running a business. Together, students also develop outreach programs to spread STEM knowledge and training, encourage kids from all kinds of backgrounds to discover how to reach their fullest potential in the STEM field. Volunteer is the only way QCI can be sustained. We love to have you joining us by bringing a better future for all children in our community. Please reach out to us or visit queencityrobotic.org, and please rate, comment, like us to help others find this podcast. We will see you again next time.